Back on the Mini, been driving it for a week. I think it's driving a lot better than when I first picked it up. A few of the concerns I had ended up being normal for this generation of Mini. So that's what I want to talk about first. So basically, I had a concern with the engine noise. Apparently these things are supposed to sound like diesel-esque. They are first generation direct injection for BMW or Mini, so they are like quite loud, and that the sound does stay consistent whether it's cold or hot. So I guess that's, yeah, if you have one of these, it's normal. I didn't know. Another concern was the idle. I found when you come to a stop, the idle drops to like 500 RPM, and the engine does feel like it's going to stall a little bit. Again, I was reading and that was normal. So the idle and the engine noise, watched a bunch of videos, read on a bunch of forums, and everyone said that that was normal. Throttle response, that I thought may have been a transmission issue or an engine mount issue. Apparently normal as well. Yeah, that throttle response is pretty sluggish. I thought maybe it was just an issue because this is an automatic. No, the automatic and manual have that problem. BMW and Mini fixed that in 2012. But if you do own one of these, you can get a aftermarket ECU reflash and it will fix all three of those problems. So yeah, I gotta say it definitely is running a lot better since I've had it. I've been driving it really hard, like really getting it hot, high RPMs, no power issues. It feels great. Like power delivery feels fine. So yeah, no engine codes. So the only thing I'm going to do today is I think I'm just going to do the spark plugs. That is the only maintenance item that there's no history on. So I'm going to replace the spark plugs. They're due at 130,000 kilometers. Okay, yeah, here's a good difference between the Mini and the BMW. So BMWs that use this engine, they suggest you change the spark plugs every 30,000 kilometers, whereas Mini wants them at 130,000 kilometers. So I don't know what the difference is there, but this thing has 110,000 kilometers, so I'm gonna replace them today. And yeah, that should be it for now. So I'll show you which spark plugs they are. So these are the OEM plugs. They're made by, over here, Baru. They're a German company, they're a German company, and these plugs in particular are made in France. Let's see if we can get that. Anyways, on here it says made in France, and they are a platinum plug, not an iridium. And also one thing I had to order that I didn't have was a 14 mil 12-point spark plug socket. You can see on here they're 12-point. So yeah, again, Amazon has been my best friend for like these specialty tools. I think this is $8 Prime delivery. I'm lucky to live nearby a big Amazon warehouse, so usually I get stuff the day of or the next day. So yeah, let's get started on this. And I've never done spark plugs on this before, so it'll kind of be a learning experience for both of us. And also one thing I'm going to do as well, I don't know if you could really see, I'll have to take the camera a little closer, but when I pulled in, this headlight here was very dim. I think it's about to burn out. They are D1S xenon bulbs. And when I worked for BMW Collision Center, when they threw out all the damaged headlights, I used to pull out the bulbs. So I have a bunch of spares on hand, because if you want an OEM like Philips D1S bulb, or yeah, D1S or D3S, the ones with the ballast built onto them, those are at least $100. So I should have a few spares that I can throw in there. So yeah, let's get started. How's it going? I'm struggling a bit to find a good camera position to work on this engine, but yeah, so it looks like spark plugs should be underneath this cover. Looks like two T30 nuts here, so I'll take those out. Or T30 bolts, I mean. Just looks like there's a couple clips that you push in and it should come out. Got to take the oil cap off. So these, I did a little bit of reading. It looks like you flip these up, connector comes off, and then you can just pull them out. Ignition coils. Oh, look, OEM. So I'm just going to do one at a time for now. Ooh. Those don't look like they have ever been replaced. Yeah, I'm really glad I'm doing this. Pretty easy job. Oh yeah, definitely. They're still the OEM plugs. I don't know a lot of people that still are shops that use OEM plugs because they're pretty expensive, so I'm gonna say that these are still the ones that came equipped with the car. 2007. What is that? 14 years ago? 15? Crazy. New plug. And they come pre-gapped. You should always check them with a, if they look really off, I like to grab some brass feeler gauges, check them just to be safe, but these look fine. The box, usually if the box comes all damaged and stuff, they get bounced around and I check them, but for like a NA engine, like a small NA engine, they should be okay. And just thread them lightly by hand. If this is one of your first times doing spark plugs, I'd recommend putting a hose on it. That way you can't cross thread it, like the hose will spin on the plug before it starts cross threading the threads on the head. But I'm just going to be gentle. So it's bottomed out. And these are going to be 23 Newton meters or 17 foot-pounds. Got my little 3/8 torque wrench set up. And there you go. It's one down. Make sure if you have the rubber style spark plug sockets, make sure the rubber is not left on the plug. So I'm going to do the 3 rest of them and start it up and make sure everything's running fine. Alright, everything's back together, everything's torqued. Let's start her up. Everything seems fine. I guess I'll know more on a drive. Actually, now's a good opportunity to show you the lights. So this one is nice and white, nice and bright. And this one is pretty yellow and dim. So I'm gonna replace it. I don't know if you could tell also, but the tops are pretty sun damaged. So I'm gonna wet sand and polish them too. Got a connector here, gonna pop it off. And then there is a cap back here. That off. And the bulb is right here. This right here, the D1S. Looks like this one is going to be pretty simple to get to. Let's try to get that connector off first. Go. Yeah. Yeah, Phillips. Yeah, just OEM Phillips bulb. Probably the original. But let's see what I got. So I didn't have any spare D1S lying around, so I'm just going to put in this M-Tech premium one in. Sweet. I'll just show you this before I put it back together. To put this other clip back on, but yeah, getting that wiring harness back on or connector back on was a little difficult. So I just used this L-shaped pick, and I was able to just get underneath it here and pull it up. So yeah, let's turn these on and see how they look. Ah, there we go, much better. Perfect. The driver side was actually already replaced too at one point, because this is an Osram one, not a Phillips one. Cool. Pretty happy about that. So these lights aren't they aren't awful, but they are, well, the tops are pretty awful actually. So but just gonna use 2000 grit, then 3000 and 5000, and that should be enough to clear these up and make them look brand new again. That's interesting. Something fell out of the car, and I could see what it is. Let me pull it out for you. Trusty magnet. The old oil pressure switch, they left it in the engine bay. Man, I don't know what to say. This is like some very poor workmanship. That's just embarrassing. Now I was kind of thinking about like not like giving that shop like a second thought and stuff, but having a bad day, but I don't know what to say. So something else, I was smelling a little bit of oil the past couple of days. I assumed it was just, I know they cleaned a bunch of stuff and did an engine degrease apparently. Just for fun, I took a look underneath the car and I'll show you what I found. I don't know if you could see, but there's some pretty good leaks from the oil pan. Oh. So they just had this oil pan off to inspect the timing chains and oil pumps, so they're gonna have to reseal this. Yeah, even back there you could, or that's just cleaner on the oil pan plug. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Come on, guys. Well, I don't think we've seen the last of this Mini. Just finding like the old oil pressure sensor in the engine bay. Oh, I mean, at least we have proof that they replaced it. That's good. But just this, like when I pulled the intake apart, there was none of the straps were tightened, or the hose clamps. The leaking oil pan. Yeah, not really impressed with the shop that did the work on this. They had it for 3 weeks, and I feel like they could have did a better job and maybe check things a little bit better. Yeah, so I think now I'm gonna give the car back to the customer. I'm gonna ask them to go back to the shop and get them to repair, like to warranty the oil pan repair. I do have paperwork of that they dropped the oil pan, they checked the chains and all such. So yeah, hopefully we don't have any more issues with the shop. I think what I'm gonna tell the customer is just to, or the owner of this car, I should say, is to get the repair warranted and then maybe cut ties with the shop, and I'll do my best to help them out to get this car sorted and reliable and make them feel safe driving it. But yeah, I learned a lot. I hope you guys did too, and I drove this car for a week and I absolutely loved it. These cars are great. Like even with it being a automatic and then a non-supercharged or non-turbo, it was absolutely fine in the city. It had tons of power, up in the high RPM range. I do like naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engines. I think they're just so fun to drive. But yeah, now I have to give it back. But I'm sure it'll be back on the channel. So, and as always, guys, thanks for watching.